2 years ago, a groundbreaking project set out to have positive impact on people with disabilities who not only visit but live on the Fylde Coast. In those 2 years, we've seen some of the most unprecedented times around the world. Despite that, the project has been a massive success. Not only that, it's also left a legacy which will undoubtedly be felt for years to come. That project's name was Access Fylde Coast, and this is its legacy.
So firstly, let me address the elephant in our COVID compliant room. We've got a one-legged guy talking about a legacy. And that's why we don't let me write my own jokes. Moving swiftly on. What an amazing 2 years it's been, and what an amazing show we've got lined up for you today. We're going to be talking with partners and supporters of the project, hearing from experts who continue to push for positive change. And to give us a real laugh to play us out, we have a COVID compliant comedy club treat with Erin Simmons and Georgia Morell. So stay with us. Now, it's iconic in a way that this project should be coming to an end this year. This year marks the 25th anniversary since the Disability Discrimination Act of 1995 was passed. And here to tell us a little bit more about that and the project itself is CEO of Disability First and the charity responsible for delivering Access Fylde Coast, Mr. Alan Reid.
It's 25 years since the passing of the Disability Discrimination Act, or DDA as it's commonly known, on the 8th of November 1995. The Landmark Act made it unlawful to discriminate against disabled people, including things like employment, provision of goods and services, education and transport for the very first time. Some protections were implemented in stages. Unlike the other civil rights movements of the last century, it was tens of thousands of disabled people leading the movement for change, who were driving the force behind the legislation. Prior to the Act, disabled people were often seen as second-class citizens, and when you ask someone to describe a typical disabled person's life, the response would often be that they either live on benefits, go to a day centre, a burden on the family, or use a wheelchair. And that was the stereotypical view. So the DDA helped to give people more rights and subsequently started to change perceptions of disability. And things have clearly improved and moved on, but we're not in utopia yet. And yes, physical access into buildings, accessible toilets and drop curbs have all played a huge part in making the UK a better place to live and work for disabled people. But there still are gaps, particularly in the areas of customer care and understanding disabled needs when using services. So if you were to ask someone now to describe a typical disabled person's life in 2020, the response would be, I don't know what I can say or what to can't say to them. It's going to cost me a fortune to make all these changes to my business, or all they do is complain. So clearly there was a need for the project such as Access Fylde Coast, and I often use a phrase to describe it in 2 words. It's all about demystifying disability. The project has played a major part in addressing negative experiences across Blackpool, Fylde and Wyre for both residents and tourists, and to deliver a change of preconceptions of disability, enhancing customer care and its facilities using digital applications to support independence, and also to showcase high-profile disabled performers at major events, including the Blackpool Illuminations Switch On and Lytham Festival, where with a fantastic opportunity to work with Kylie, Rod Stewart, Stereophonics and Diversity. We were thrilled and very proud to be awarded this grant, especially in our 25th year as a charity, and definitely a game changer, recognising the needs of sensory mental health and learning conditions as well as physical. A number of high-profile disabled comedians have been in the media over the past few years, including Lee Ridley, aka Lost Voice Guy, Adam Hills from The Last Leg, and recently Rosie Jones on BBC's Question Time. There's still a lot of polarisation when it comes to public attitudes towards disability, and the aim of the Access Fylde Coast Project was to strive to become a more fully inclusive resort for all. So what legacies have we left? Well, far more businesses now have a better understanding of the wide-ranging needs of their disabled customers through disability awareness courses that we've provided, and also access guides, meaning that businesses have now made improvements which often cost little or nothing to provide. Such things as including information in large print or providing extra chairs for those with limited mobility. It doesn't always mean spending thousands of pounds. Major entertainment events have now committed to enhance their facilities for disabled customers. And the Blackpool Transport app has been greatly improved in the cultural and heritage sections with easy read and British Sign Language versions.
Some truly interesting stuff there from Alan Reid. Now, the Fylde Coast is well known as a tourist hotspot here in the UK, and one aspect of the Access Fylde Coast project has been all about encouraging disabled tourists to the area. Now, to talk how disabled tourists fit into the bigger picture, we have Ross Calladine on the line from Visit England. So, Ross, are you there?
Hi, Mike. Good to talk to you.
Hello there. How are you? Thank you for doing this virtually.
No problem. Good to be here.
So, tell me, I understand that Visit England has an incredibly proactive attitude towards, helping businesses become, accessible and fitting into the bigger picture with this disability tourism. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. I mean, as the National Tourism Agency, Visit Britain, Visit England, we're responsible for making the tourism sector one of the most productive sectors for the economy. And we really recognise that the accessible tourism market can help us to meet this ambition because it isn't a niche market. The official stats say that it's around 1 in 5 who meet the government's definition of being disabled, but actually many more benefit from accessible and inclusive destinations. So we're working hard with destinations and tourism businesses across the country to make sure they understand the value of this market and give them lots of guidance and advice on how to be more welcoming and accessible.
Indeed. I mean, like you said, with 1 in 5 people meeting the government's standard, as it were, for being disabled, the disabled population is an incredibly valued area. I mean, how can we get more businesses, interested and involved with becoming more accessible to reach this, 1 in 5 people?
Well, I think most businesses are commercial operations, so we need to push the business case, which you mentioned. There is a very strong business case. We know that the total value of accessible tourism in Britain is worth around £17.7 billion each year. 15.3 of that being in England. So that is those are trips taken by people with different impairments and their travelling companions, because most people don't travel alone. So that is a tremendous amount of money that businesses are surely not going to want to miss out on. But also embracing accessible tourism helps businesses to stay legal and also feel good, because it's the right thing. It's the moral and the ethical thing to do as well.
No, exactly. I totally agree with you. And like you said, that is a tremendous amount of money. So if there's any businesses out there that, want to know more, where can they go? Obviously the Visit England site, is there a specific area within Visit England that they can visit?
There is. So over many years, we've built up a wealth of guidance, tips and case studies on the Visit England Business Advice Hub. So we have a dedicated section on how to make your business accessible. And that's at visitengland.org/access. And we talk about the 3 pillars of accessible tourism, which I know the Access Fylde Coast Project has also followed. So that's looking at customer service. So we ask businesses to complete disability awareness training so that their staff are disability confident and are able to welcome and serve people with different access requirements. The second pillar is the information, and this is absolutely key. So we help businesses to produce accessibility guides so that people can make an informed decision as to whether a venue meets their own access requirements. And then finally, the third pillar is looking at the built environment and the physical facilities. And we want businesses to think about something called universal design. So that's creating a venue that works for the widest range of people. So you can provide seamless accessibility that doesn't take away from the experience for people who don't need necessarily accessible facilities.
Ross, thank you very much for talking to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Mike. Really good to talk to you.
So, as Ross mentioned there, people with disabilities and their carers, they have a lot of value when they go places. Now, the value of, the money that they're spending is better known to people as the Purple Pound. It has significant value. And here, from our friends at Purple, we've got a short clip to say exactly how valuable that is.
The disability market is large yet relatively untouched. Across the globe, there are 1.3 billion people with a disability or long-term health condition and have a consumer spending power worth $8 trillion per annum. In the UK alone, the Purple Pound equates to £249 billion, and yet only 10% of businesses currently have a disability strategy to access this market.
They are some unbelievable figures. They really speak for themselves, don't they? Now, two people who know the exact value of the Purple Pound and are good friends of the project are Mike Adams, OBE, CEO of Purple, and Raymond Veal, the CEO of Tourism for All. Now, Mike, if I can start with you, can you please tell me a little bit more about Purple and the Purple Pound? How valuable is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Purple is an organisation that aims to change the disability conversation from one of being welfare, vulnerability and charity to one of being about value, contribution and opportunity. And as you said, Purple Pound equates to £274 billion a year and is rising at 14% per annum. But we know that organisations, businesses, only about 10% of them have any kind of strategy to access this market. And we also know that it's increasingly important in terms of the click-away pound, which is where disabled people are leaving websites before making a purchase because of poor accessibility or customer service. That is a loss to UK PLC of about £17.1 billion. So there is a real economic reason why businesses should take disability seriously.
It extends more than that, isn't it? The value of disabled people is more than just money. There is incredible value in people with disabilities as well, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And I saw a statistic the other week that says that 50% of people in the UK workforce either have a disabled relative or someone in their close network. And my answer is, would that member of staff want their auntie, uncle, nephew, niece to go into their business and be treated differently just because that they have a disability? And the answer is no. And what the other thing we're starting to see is people understanding who we mean when we talk about disabled people. So 80%, 4 out of 5 of the 14 million disabled people in the UK have a hidden disability. And that means they could walk into your restaurant, shop, bar, hotel, and you wouldn't necessarily know they had a disability and therefore had additional needs.
And just to touch on something there, you said about the economic value of it. And, obviously with COVID at the moment, that's another impact, economically, but also, it has a lasting impact on people with disabilities, don't you find?
We're all in some form of recovery planning. And what we need to do is make sure that that recovery is inclusive. And that means rethinking the built environment, whether you're a customer or whether you are an employee, and about how does that built environment work in a socially distant way. I think the world we're seeing is increasingly online, and making sure that providers have basic accessibility in place. And every member of staff is going to have to be trained in new ways of working, and just making sure that disabled people and disability is part of, integrated as part of that training. And that will mean as we come out of COVID-19, disabled people become front and centre in terms of organisations' way forward. And that's incredibly important because society is changing and people are looking for social impact as well as economics in the brands that they engage with.
Totally, totally. Now, Ray, if I could come to you, can you tell me a little bit more about Tourism for All and, what impact has Access Fylde Coast actually had?
Well, Tourism for All, we deal with two types of customer effectively. We talk to individuals where we help provide information and planning to help disabled individuals to take holidays and breaks in the UK. But we also work with businesses and helping them to become more accessible and to welcome guests and customers with impairments. And very much we concentrate on the customer service aspects, because for so many of the people in our community that we talk with, they tell us that the services, the service, the welcome that you receive is just as important as the facilities. And that's the message that we keep trying to drive home to businesses. It isn't all about spending lots of money on changes to the built environment and to the way that your business actually operates. The service you give, the welcome you give, is just as important. And in terms of the pandemic, obviously, what we're concentrating on as we talk to businesses now is the fact that we have a whole group of a whole market in the shape of disabled tourists and travellers, many of whom would have tended to holiday abroad because of the facilities provided by foreign destinations and by specialist travel companies, which are now just not going to be available to them. And what we're pointing out is that there's a golden opportunity over the next couple of years, really to build that domestic market with accessible tourism, because people with money to spend who would be going abroad aren't going to be. Certainly from a survey that we did back in July among disabled people, asking about what their travel plans were and how they would be affected by the pandemic and emerging from it, very much the message that we got was that the UK was going to be the destination of choice, and therefore they would be looking for better choice of product, better choice of facilities. But interestingly, in terms of the barriers that we saw, the standard barriers, if you like, of customer service, of the facilities that are available to make holiday properties and tourism businesses accessible, were just as important as the COVID precautions that were being taken. It's almost taken as read that businesses will be COVID secure and will follow the guidelines, but it's still mainly about those facilities that are offered, that welcome is offered.
The amount of times that, I can see how if you're offering poor customer service, people who aren't able to interact because of, that barrier, and then, make matters worse, COVID going on. I've spoken to someone recently who's deaf, a mask. It's the simple things like that that can be changed, like you said, free of charge, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of education. So tell me, is there more that can be done in the meantime? You said about like staycations, and that's going to be the way forward with this. Is there many more things that people can do?
Well, I think that the part of the value of the Access Fylde Coast Project has been the fact that it has enabled almost dedicated resource, if you like, to really set about raising awareness of accessible tourism and the needs of disabled people, really to start raising the profile. So I think in terms of things that go on in the future, the Access Fylde Coast Project has been a real sort of model, a real exemplar of how this could be done. And I think other projects of that sort would be really beneficial in other areas of the country to spread that message, because the fact that the resource can be put in with concentrated efforts on training, on on improvement of facilities and of events which are accessible. I mean, one of the brilliant things about the Access Fylde Coast project was has been the events that have been organised with things like signing interpreters and so on, which have made them accessible and inclusive for all people who wanted to come to them. And I think seeing that in action, seeing the vibrant effect that it's had around the Fylde Coast, I think mirroring that across the country would be a great thing. So, more projects of this sort, strategically placed and strategically located, would be a great way to drive home that message that the market is there and it wants to come and visit you.
And Mike, are you in agreement there? Do you think there should be more projects like Access Fylde Coast spread out across the nation?
I absolutely do, and I see the Access Fylde Coast as a real Trojan horse within tourism, because it provides a focus of the art of what is possible. It shows businesses what can be done. We can make the economic arguments. They can show how it's delivered. And I would say we need more Access Fylde Coasts in tourism, and we need more of these kind of projects in every other industry, whether it's banking, whether it's retail, whether it's insurance, whether it's engineering, because we have to kind of normalise what we are trying to talk about. And I go back to the fact that there is the economic arguments stand up for themselves. And if you say to a business, look, here is a market worth 274 billion, only 10% of businesses are doing anything about accessing it. The entry costs to this market are very low, because actually customer service is the raison d'etre of what many businesses do. Why wouldn't you? And to boot, as we move into a world where people are much more concerned about their brands having social impact, the economics are right, the social is right, the ability to deliver is straightforward, and we've got projects like the Access Fylde Coast that show how it can be done. So I think it's really this is not selling disability. Disability has been sold. It's about just supporting UK PLC to come out of the pandemic, come out really stronger, and come out as with disabled people being an integral part of the recovery.
Amazing. Well, gentlemen, it has been a genuine pleasure to chat to both of you today.
Very welcome.
Goodbye there.
Thank you.
So there you have it. The value of disabled people extends more than just money. The value of the disabled people themselves and what they bring, to a business, to the economy, far outweighs any argument that anyone could have against it. And both guys agree that it should be rolled out on a national scheme in lots of different areas. Now, I've got a challenge for the Access Fylde Coast team to see how many positive things have come out of the Access Fylde Coast project. Over to you.
Thanks, Mike. So, Rach, we've got to name as many positive things as we can about the project in 1 minute. What do you think?
I reckon we could fill probably about 5, but yeah, let's give it a crack. Let's see how we go on.
Let's go.
Right, first pilot of its type in the UK.
500 businesses have been helped to become accessible in tourist hotspots.
478 people are now disability awareness trained thanks to our free training.
And 98% of those say that they're more confident to help disabled people now.
We enhanced 13 events across the whole of the area with British Sign Language, with accessible toilets and hoisting equipment.
We provided signers to 14 events.
And we had 6 easy reads for coronavirus, which helped explain the rules and regulations.
And now our local NHS are using them.
They are. 350,000 people have so far seen our video series that we did, highlighting the need for tourism businesses to be accessible.
And really importantly, businesses are now asking people with disabled people if they're happy and they're doing it right.
Yeah, we brought Ill Abilities to the area, which is a disability dance group. We brought Power Orchestra as well to Blackpool. We brought Evelyn Glennie to the...
Oh no! A minute, but we've got so much more to go through.
Let's just keep going.
I think we carry on.
Keep going. Okay, right, so we developed a flipbook for our website so that people can now, after the project's finished, can go and see how to be accessible.
So we've brought sign language for the first time to London Festival, and that is going to continue as well, which is just fantastic.
And as part of that, like I said, we've also got community champs, and we've got the biggest concentration of community champions in one area in the whole of the UK.
And we brought some top comedians from across the UK with disabilities to perform to an audience.
BBC Media, other outlets, we've appeared all over there. We had that Purple Pound video, which was like Marmite, love it, hate it, but it did the job. It helped break down the perceptions of disability, and was part of our radio campaign we did. We lit up Blackpool Tower, the pavilion in Fleetwood, and the Lytham windmill, as part of the National Purple Pound Day. Now hundreds of businesses have been audited and are now on the Accessible national platform. So all in all, I'd say fab feedback just generally.
Don't forget the Endacra exhibition that we brought out of London for the first time, and we're also appearing in the Illuminations as well to raise awareness.
Yep, so we've helped change perceptions and break down barriers.
We really have. There's so much more to think about, and it just keeps going, doesn't it? And it's and we've only just made a start, and it needs to carry on. Everyone just needs to do their bit and really push this now and continue to raise awareness.
That is a truly impressive list of some of the things that Access Fylde Coast has achieved in the past 2 years. Here's a short clip of some of the best bits. So, to sum it up, truly it has been an amazing 2 years with Access Fylde Coast. A lot of things have been achieved, but let's be honest, there is still a lot more that can be done. Groundbreaking projects like Access Fylde Coast will hopefully lead the way, potentially to something nationally, that will enable the United Kingdom to become far more accessible for all. Now, that's enough from me, so I'm going to leave you in the more than capable and hilarious hands of Aaron Simmons and Georgia Morel. Goodbye.
I'd like you to welcome to the stage the wonderful Georgia Morel. 1, 2, 3. Clap for me. Welcome to the stage, Georgia Morel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aaron. Like Aaron, I am disabled as well. That's my thing. That's my jam. I'm visually impaired. That's me. It's the sneakiest of the disabilities. It really is, because you can't see it. It's ironic. Don't patronise me with that woohoo. It's fine. I'll let it go. It's a great pun. I'm very proud of it. I'm visually impaired, and I don't like the term visually impaired. It sounds like it should be on the report of a drunk driving incident. Do you know what I mean? That was visually impaired, a polite way of saying they were shit-faced. And people were like, so I know what you're thinking, Georgie, why are you visually impaired? And I'll tell you, it's very simple. So when I was like 3 years old, I got this type of arthritis, and that gives you inflammation, and then it gives you inflammation of the eyes, and that becomes glaucoma, which too much pressure on the optic nerve means that you go blind, and if you put too much pressure on the optic nerve, that's what happens. So that's what happened to my left eye, and the right one's a bit squiffy. Yeah, I'm working on a flow chart just to try and get it all together. And most people's eyes do sort of glaze over when I tell them that. Ironically, thank you. Deserves more. You know, actually, that's one of the jokes. You can go home, and if you mum or your nan or something is like, how was that really attractive comedian, Georgie Morale? What are her jokes like? That's when you can tell her that's clean. You're welcome. Person of the people, me. Yep, done that. Lovely, this is going swimmingly. The thing that probably gets me, so do you know what I do? Instead of giving people all the information, I just lie. I just say it was like a bar fight or a shark attack, or Amanda Holden did it. She definitely didn't, if the lawyers are listening, but I want that to go down. That's how I tell people. And probably the most, you get stupid things said to you because people almost don't believe you because they literally can't see it. And my ex's dad, I remember, he said one of the stupider things. He said, he goes, well, you can't tell to look at you. In that pervy voice, exactly like that. You're like, thank you, sweaty, overweight, hairy man, whose opinion I didn't ask for. Thank you. And the worst is actually, if people aren't, they're trying to make themselves feel better about your sad little story. And if they're not doing that, they're trying to steal your problem. They're trying to relate with you. And the worst for it are my lefty liberal London pals. I'm sorry if they've made their way up here. I only apologize. Send them back. We will deal with it. My mate Ellie in particular, she works in media. And she has this way of talking that's really passive-aggressive, and she always goes up at the end of sentences, even though they're not questions. It's like, Georgie, I totally get it. I literally have a gluten allergy, and it's like so debilitating because I have to go to Whole Foods, and it's so much more expensive. No, Ellie, it is not the same, and talk like a grown-up. People will take you seriously. It's not the same, gluten allergy. Worse, what's her biggest problem, really? If she eats cheese, she herself. Worst case for me, crossing the road. I don't know if I'll get there safely. 30-70. Not in my favour, really. And then maybe myself, who knows. And Ellie does it to make herself feel better about my sad story. And that should make me angry and confused. And it does a little bit, but I let her have that. I was at the shops local to my boyfriend's flat. We were at Delhi. Yeah, sorry, lad's got a boyfriend. Guide for you. And he owns 2 properties in London and has a car. You know, if you can compete with that, we'll talk after the show. You know what I mean? And we went outside of Delhi near the shops, waiting for some sandwiches to be ready. And a little doggy goes past. I love a doggy. I'll cross a road to cuddle a doggy. Makes my day. Can really turn it around. And he was a little scruffy terrier. And I named him Reg. I don't know if that was his name. It just seems like a good dog name. Any Regs in? You could be a dog. Anyway, little Reg was there. And Reg had a lead that said blind dog on it because he was a blind dog. And my boyfriend turns to me and says, oh, we should get you one of those. And I said, shut your face or I'll blind you. Anyways, by the by. And the woman overheard us, heard us talking about the dog. And she goes, oh, yeah, it's sad, isn't it? I'd rather be dead than blind. Good reaction, whoever just did that. That's exactly right. Confusion, shock, hurt for myself, for all of the visually impaired people of the world. That's how I should have felt. Instead, I thought, if she would rather be dead than blind, then what the hell is about to happen to that dog? Reg probably woke up that morning, happy, put his little wet nose in the air and sniffed it, and thought, today's going to be a great day. I'm happy, I'm free, and I'm loved. Or so he thought. He was on his way to the gallows. He was walking his green mile with that ignorant. He was on his way to the glue factory, and I had to do something. I didn't say anything. I'm British after all. I didn't say anything. So I knelt down, and I untied Reg. I said, be free. Be free, be alive, Reg. And he ran straight into traffic, got bookered by a lorry, and died right there. Yeah, it's sad. So The moral or the morale of the story is dogs die, yeah. And life's ironic. Do you know what? I've already been paid, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to laugh. Thank you, guys. I've been Georgia Morell. You've been an absolute pleasure. And I'm going to bring Aaron back to the stage. Let's give him a big round of applause, everybody. I'm taking this.
Thanks, guys. And can I just say, it's lovely to have a round of applause that isn't for me being brave. It's so great. Couple of things, Georgie. I'm also gluten intolerant. Really not upset, not okay with that. But I can't eat cheese. It's bread that I can't eat. And I'll be honest, I'd rather eat a pizza than be able to walk. Yeah, if I could choose one of the two, being gluten intolerant is a bigger problem in my life because of the brilliant work that the Access Fylde Coast have been doing. That'll do as a soundbite. Yeah, it's lovely to be here. As I said before, I have cerebral palsy. And I think it's a really fun disability. People ask me what my favourite thing is about being disabled. I'll tell you. It means, because I've got cerebral palsy, it means I'm registered disabled, right? And because I'm registered disabled, it means that I get all the benefits of being a straight, white man and none of the guilt. That is a lovely balance, unlike my own, which is shit. They're going to have to bleep that. It's fun. I love cerebral palsy. As I said, I've had it a long time. I was trying to think about sort of stories that would be sort of relatable to what the Access Fylde Coast are trying to do. And I was trying to think about the times where I felt that I've had a sort of really positive experience about my disability because I don't think we have those enough. I was trying to wrap my brains, and I've got some real topical story that's just happened to me in 2012. Paralympics. Who remembers the Paralympics? How fun, right? 2020 was supposed to be a Paralympic year. Obviously, it's not this year, but it will be next year. But I remember the Paralympics in 2012. Did anyone go to any of that, by the way? Is London too far to go see the Olympic? No, fair enough. It's fair enough. I get it. London is right on my doorstep. So me and my brother went absolutely mad, right? The thing that me and my brother have like most in common is we both love sport. And when it came to the Paralympics, we were able to get so many tickets, right? And the reason why we were able to get loads and loads of tickets is because we bought wheelchair plus carer tickets. They had much more availability than the usual tickets. And so that's why we got loads, right? And we were excited for all of it. We went to 10 different events over the 2 weeks. But the thing that we were most looking forward to was the goalball final. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with goalball. If you're not, let me explain. Goalball is the best sport in the world. I know that's a big claim, but I can explain that within 3 sentences. Okay. So if you don't know what goalball is, imagine dodgeball, but with blind people. The objective of the sport is to get hit by the ball. Greatest sport ever, right? And we had tickets to the final, so we weren't seeing any blind people getting hit by rubber balls. We were seeing the creme de la creme of blind people getting hit by rubber balls, right? So excited. And the final was on the Friday, right? Thursday night, I got the flu. Terrible, ill, knew I wouldn't be there, right? So it meant that my brother had a really difficult decision to make. And so what happened is he spent the whole night going over it in his head of what he was going to do. And in the morning, he made the incredibly selfless decision to give away his ticket to my dad. He then took my ticket and my wheelchair and decided to scooch off to East London, right? No qualms about that, right? My brother was very calm about the whole situation. My dad, however, was so nervous. I remember Friday morning, I was on the couch in a blanket, shivering. All I can remember about that morning is my dad going, "Oh my God, we're going to hell. We've got to be ambiguous. whatever we do, pay no attention. We go down. And my brother, so calm, considering, you know, he was about to commit fraud. And, like, he was just so calm. He's like, look, we've done this before. We know exactly how it works. We get to the station. We go around the queue. And we'll be let into the stadium. No one's going to question us. We know it's going to be fine. And to be fair to my brother, it was fine, right? They got on the train, they got to East London, they got to Stratford Station, no problem whatsoever, right? And as they were going out of Stratford Station, this is where the story goes a bit downhill, metaphorically and literally, because my brother starts going downhill. Now, the way it works in terms of the Paralympics event was all of the able-bodied people queue up, because, you know, you love queuing. We get to jump those queues because it's the only jumping we can do. And so, I've never said that before. I'm going to say it again, though. Anyway, so what happens is everyone's queuing outside the copper box. People in the wheelchair go round the queue, get let in first, right? And that is what my brother is attempting to do. But he's going slightly downhill, and he loses control of my wheelchair, and he falls out of my wheelchair in front of 200 people queuing to get into the copper box, right? And so, obviously, all of these people come rushing over and, you know, like, are you okay? Do you need any help? And my brother, because I'll be honest, I don't think he knows what inconspicuous means, because he jumped up and said, no, I'm absolutely fine, got back in the queue, right? Now, my dad sees this, right? He's about 20 meters away from my brother at this point. So he comes rushing over to my brother. He clips him around the ear and he says, what the f*** are you doing? Get back in that chair now. Here's the thing. You guys know that my brother is able-bodied. But to the people in the queue, they have just seen a middle-aged man sprint up to his disabled son, clip him round the ear, and tell him to get back in the wheelchair because he's had the audacity to create a miracle. But this miracle is an inconvenient time for him because he wants to go see some blind people get hit by rubber balls. And that is why I love the Paralympics. Yeah, it made me proud to be disabled that day. Worth missing the final of that just for that. I'll tell you a couple of other stories. I was actually the last person to find out I was disabled. My parents found out before I did. Rude. I thought I should be in that conversation. So they found out that I was disabled when I was 2 years old. I'll tell you this. I was 2 years old when they found out that I was disabled. What happened is I wasn't walking or talking by this point, and so they went to the doctors to run some tests and all that kind of stuff. And this was the early 90s, so there wasn't quite as much understanding about cerebral palsy as there is now. And so they went to the doctor. Now, I'm going to tell you something that sounds made up, but I promise you it is true, okay? My doctor, and she is still my doctor, right, my GP, from when I was a baby to now, her name is Dr. Pepper. I know, it sounds made up, but I promise you that is true. And so my parents went to Dr. Pepper, and this bit sounds made up, and I think it is, because my dad told me it was true, and I don't trust my dad. My Dr. Pepper, after 2 weeks of tests, they came back and they said, my parents asked, what is the news? And Dr. Pepper said, your son has cerebral palsy. And my dad claims that he said, what's the worst that could happen? Not buying that for a second, because he is a liar. But Dr. Pepper replied very conscientiously and very earnestly and said, look, people we don't know is essentially what it is at the minute, because cerebral palsy has different severities and different people with cerebral palsy have different things affected by it. So some people with cerebral palsy never walk, some people with cerebral palsy never talk. But what is universally true amongst the cerebral palsy community is that they have very bad coordination issues, and so therefore your son will never be able to juggle. That is the third thing that Dr. Pepper told my parents about my disability. Yeah, he may not be able to walk or talk, but stop investing in clown college. That's definitely not going to happen. Which, ironically, is what my parents think I do now. Good. They're very supportive people, but they do think I have wasted a lot of my life. And that is true. But are they in Lytham at 12:30 on a Tuesday? No, they're at an actual job. So who's the real winner? This guy. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the Legacy programme. Thank you very much to the Access Fylde Coast, and we will see you next time. I hope you have a lovely evening. Good night! Nailed it.